Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live with yours truly, Pam Green. I am really excited again this month. Every month, it seems like we just keep taking it up another notch, another notch, another notch. But as you know, our live conversations are with C-suite CEOs and executives about their lives, their experiences, and they can give us some nuggets about what they're doing to manage their mental, emotional, physical health to achieve the sort of brand recognition that they have, and then to give us some tips on things that we can learn for those of you who are aspiring into the C-suite, and for those of you who are already there and you're like, this is a nail biter and looking to expand your network and to get some additional tips and insights. Well, today I've got an exciting guest. I have a real treat for you. I know she's been so busy, but it is really my pleasure to welcome Dr. Amy Dufrane. You all know her as the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer for the HR Certification Institute. And she, with the Institute, what she's done is created a real innovative learning organization to help meet new career, business, and workforce demands. But before joining HRCI, Dr. Dufrane has spent many years as an innovator of human capital strategies for progressive organizations and also in higher education, teaching leaders of tomorrow. She serves on the Wall Street Journal CEO Council. She is a member of the Economic Club, CEO Roundtable, and on the board for the Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind. You obviously know she holds a number of degrees. She's been recognized all over the place, holds a suite of 8 credentials. We can't even name them all here. I didn't even know there were that many, letters out there for credentials. But what's really exciting is that in 2018, the organization under Dr. Dufrane's leadership, they introduced the upskill e-learning and assessment modules, which are designed for professionals at all levels, to help improve their supervisory skills and really help lead their organizations and drive organizational goals. She's got the future of HR work. We all know about the alchemizing HR. I mean, literally, HRCI is on fire, and I'm so glad Amy, that you have taken time out of your day to be with us. So welcome, and say a few words to our wonderful folks and tell us what you've been up to.
Thanks, Pam. Well, it's so great to be here. And, you listen to that and go, wow, how has all that happened? But, I think that I'm super glad to be here and super glad to talk about some of the things that your listeners are interested in hearing about. And, I think, what have I been up to? Wow. Well, I took my first airplane ride since February of 2020. And I went to San Antonio to watch my daughter play in the NCAA women's basketball tournament. So that was the highlight. I couldn't miss it. And I couldn't drive because it was 24 hours away. So I'm like, I'm going to risk it. I'm almost full. I was almost fully vaxxed at that point. I thought, I'm going to do it because this could be a once in a lifetime thing.
How was it? I know it was fantastic.
It was awesome. It was just so much fun. I mean, it wasn't the normal way that it usually is, but it was fun to be there, fun to watch the teams play, and the crowds were dramatically less than they were used to. And of course, everyone heard all the hubbub about the differentiation between the men's and women's teams, and sort of the disparities, which were fixed somewhat. At least the women could go work out with more than just a weight and a yoga mat. They actually had a weight room. So so that was a great thing for the team, but just an amazing opportunity to see women's basketball and how it's come along. And I think we've got new leadership in the WNBA, so there's a lot of energy around women's basketball. They had their second highest watchership ever. So I could go
Yeah,
on and on about it because I
I
just
know. We get
super
excited
passionate about
about
it.
that.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I know that you've been called to do a lot more things, and you're such a voice for the HR profession, especially around certification. Lots happened in
That's
the
right.
last year, and it keeps happening. So I'm just curious, how has your leadership style changed or had to change, and overall in this pandemic, the political unrest, the civil challenges that we've been facing. How have you had to shift your leadership in all of this?
Yeah, for sure. I historically had always thought, you got to hire great people. You got to involve them in a strategy and a mission and where you're going.
Yeah,
Get them excited about it and then get out of their way and let them go. And
yeah,
I think this past year, 15 months or so we've seen a huge shift in sort of the pace in which we're working, the amount of change that we're seeing, the work balance that's happened, or not happened, the number of
yeah.
jobs that workers have now. Not only are they part of your team, but they may be a teacher and they were not trained to be a teacher,
Right.
but they're trying to educate their kids, and partners are losing their jobs, so there's financial stress in families and people, and there's just all this um, this stuff that's happening. And so
Yes.
for me, it was really my leadership over the past years really focused on over communication. How are we
Mm.
as an organization? How are we doing? So that
Mm-hmm.
people could go, okay, I'm good. My job
Yep.
is secure. Everything is going to be okay. And we're good. And then tell them, all right, these are some of the things that we need to focus on as a business, because
Mhm.
everyone's business in 2020 was disrupted. I don't know of one person. Either you had to amplify production of toilet paper, or the normal way that we tested people was shifted because testing centers were closed, so we
Right.
had to quickly
Mm-hmm.
pivot and reimagine how we could do this for our community. Fortunately, we had already talked about sort of doing some beta tests in this in 2020. It just became, we're not doing a beta, we're going live, and we're going to go fast. So
Good.
I think that keeping that over communication with the team has been key and critical, so that people really know the direction that we're going. And people leaned in hard. I mean, they leaned in super hard in 2020, and many of my team didn't take a vacation just because there was
Right.
nowhere to go, like, right?
Yes.
So,
Right.
so this year I'm saying, all right, in the summer, you guys got to take your vacation,
Good.
really step back, step out of the HRCI world and go do something completely different, because my philosophy is that people need that break. You need that
Yes.
mental break so
Yes.
that you can be more efficient and effective. And frankly, your brain needs that break.
Oh,
And you get percolating ideas that come up when you're not even thinking about,
yes.
your business, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
important to take that. And I think not just at HRCI, but I think, I'm talking to a lot
Mhm.
of business leaders, CEOs, who are saying they're encouraging their team to do the same. Take a break. Many of my team members said, "Are you okay if I take 2 weeks off?" Yes,
Yeah.
go do it.
Run. Yes. Put
So
the wind
yeah,
behind you. Good.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So
How
I think
how
that's
are
how it's
you?
changed.
Yeah. So how are you kind of speaking about, we're all talking about coming back and these, I don't know, I think you and I talked about did you have a hybrid from the beginning? Because your office space, people could still come in, and some people work from home and you could still have some space. But what are your thoughts about coming back?
Yeah, that's really good. I have been really conservative in this area for sure. We were fortunate enough to be able to pivot,
Mhm.
to go 100% virtual, literally over the weekend last March, and we did not miss a beat.
Yeah.
We have, a large call center, our client services team who were equipped and ready. I mean, in Washington, D.C., anybody that is around here knows that when it snows like a trace, the entire city shuts down. So we have been equipped for this, people working, remotely for a while. And so we, we pivoted quickly, and we're in no hurry at this point to get people back. I have a few people that are physically going in on a regular basis, but our business is 100% automated. So our operations are totally automated. So there's really, we've done everything that, people have normally said, oh, well, we need to physically come and meet together and see you. That's not the case anymore. I think, we are, even our auditors, we met with them and they said, well, we did this audit 100% virtual. Are you okay if we do it that way next year? And I said, it worked beautifully. Why do we need to all physically be, in the same office? So, and I think, many of my team members ride public transportation, and they said, we're not really jumping up and down to get on the bus or get on, the metro or what have you. And I said, there's no reason to. Business is great. We're, everybody is operational and can do what they need to do, and it's working. So I'm taking a super conservative approach in this because, I think we saw a lot of momentum around 3 vaccines, and then J&J pulled back. And anyway, so that's sort of been my philosophy on that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I know, I'm sure your phone is ringing off the hook with your colleagues of CEOs and executives around the country trying to figure it out. And you've had to shift mindset. We used to have this mindset of nobody could work, not everyone, but there was this, widely held notion that, not everyone can work from home. And then all of a sudden everyone had to. So now the onus is going to be on employers to prove that you don't actually have to come back, and you got to prove to me the business case for some employers why I have to physically come back into work. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm curious too about how you've thrived for such a long time in a competitive market. When I say certification, and the increased competitiveness of certifications, especially for the HR audience. How have you been able to lead HRCI and actually, like, y'all are killing it out there by all accounts? Like every time I get emails and I get LinkedIn messages. Did you see what HRCI posted and what are they doing and blah, blah, blah. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I think I'm so fortunate to be with a team of individuals who are really innovative and creative and entrepreneurial and agile. And I think that's really what the kind of team that HRCI aspires to have. And we are, constantly talking to our clients. We're listening to what's going on in HR. We're paying attention to that, and we're creating innovative products. And our current, initiatives that we have were, like, for instance, last year, when nobody could get recertification credits because conferences were, kapooey at that point, we really reimagined, okay, how can we help people? And so we already had our podcast called Inevitable, the Future of Work, but then we started our weekly webinar series, and we did our own micro summits. Our first micro summit was on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And we really, because we felt like we got to focus on some of these things that HR people need information right now in real time. And so we really have worked to connect. If we don't have something, we find a partner who can help an HR leader with a problem that they've got, because we're all in this together. And so I think it's really listening, paying attention to, we launched in our virtual learning platform where we've got lots of learning, not just HR learning, but business learning. We launched that in February of 2020. We're seeing a lot of, we're adding more courses around that. And we've got some some other things that are kind of in the works for 2021 that we're really excited about. And, this is a super innovative team that we're really looking for and listening to ideas from across, not just within the organization, but across the HR community.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting too, because I know that you experienced a significant disruption in 2014. And, I'm sure there are folks out there waiting, okay, is she going to ask the question, and so I just need to ask the question. I know that the business model was disrupted in 2014, and I'm curious, how did you make the change? Like what did you do?
Right. So, we were at that point a 40-year-old startup. And what an amazing opportunity for us that, we were kind of, the little caterpillar in our chrysalis as we are here in the springtime. And we in 2014 emerged as a beautiful butterfly, and we're given opportunities to connect with partners in ways that we hadn't before and build our business to be a 21st century business, and very innovative, very tech driven. Some of the things that I talked about earlier, we wouldn't have been able to do those things because in our past life, because we have such innovative practices, and I think that's helped us as an organization. And frankly, it's made us attractive to people who are looking to work for us, to say, this is an organization that is really doing things, not sort of doing the same old, but really reinvigorating some of our products and processes and making things better and more innovative. So I think that we, embrace that opportunity to really envision ourselves as our, HRCI 3.0. And I think we really have done that as an organization. And I'm really proud of the collaborative team. It's not just me. It's not just, the folks that are part of the HRCI team, but our subject matter experts who have helped us to build out the body of knowledge and sort of the elements of HR that are important. Our board is an amazing board of individuals who are super passionate about giving back to the profession, and they do that in a most giving way. So I think that our entire community, the entire HRCI community, is a very giving community, and very, very passionate about not only the profession, but what we do too, the collective we. So I'm feel very honored to be the CEO at this time.
Yeah.
For HRCI.
Well, I'll tell you. Yeah, people see you as the voice of HR. I think a lot of it has to do with your credibility, your authenticity, your ability to be innovative, to listen. You and I have talked many times, and to really listen to what's happening, to have your ear to the ground. And I think that's incredibly important, because sometimes you can get so large and so big that you get disconnected from who your real and true audience is, which kind of leads me to another question, because I have a colleague, Dr. James Neblett, on the West Coast, and sometimes he'll say, are you tuning in? Because you see, Carlissa, they're doing the upskill HR, and we're and are you on alchemizing HR? And Carissa is Carissa Peterson, who many of you all are familiar with. She is the facilitator and the host. And I can't get on, so he's telling me what happened in the conversation. So it's almost like our weekly television program. But it sort of leads to the conversation that I will get from folks sometimes, is that, will HRCI become a membership association? Are they moving into that space? And of course, if I knew, I couldn't tell. But I'd say, I don't think so. But that's a really good question. I'll make sure that I tease out that question.
Yeah, I think that is a good question. And I think we have a community right now of people that are highly networked with each other. And it's not just in the United States, but we have this global network. And I think our certification holders are always leaning on each other. We just had a conversation with one of our subject matter experts who said, I'm part of this really small community of HR folks who are right now sort of talking through challenges, and most of those folks are certified by HRCI. So we're creating an innovative community that is different than a traditional sort of association.
Yes.
And I think we're really trying to create that community. And I think that we now have seen more than ever how important that community is, in light of the past 14 months when so much in HR has been disrupted. And I think about the magnitude of things that HR professionals are dealing with right now. And I look back at, my career when I started at this almost 30 years ago, and how so dramatically it's changed. And HR is dealing with a lot. And we need to rely on each other and help each other through these challenges that we've got, a personal challenge or a professional challenge.
Yeah. And I love it when I'm joining one of the sessions, whether, it's Alchemizing HR or one of the other sesh conferences or other things that you all are sponsoring. I love the connection and the conversation that's happening, in the chat box. It's all about community and it's all about connection. And I think it's great that you've been able to continue to extend that. And honestly, to stay true to who you are. It would be so easy for you to jump into a different sort of competitive box, but you've been able to hold your own and thrive in spite of some of the disruptions that you've experienced. One of the things that we've talked about is the culture of change, and how you've created a type of culture club. And I'd love to know a little bit more about that. I swear I want to steal it, but daggone it if you didn't beat me to it. But I love that concept. Talk to us a little bit about the culture club at HRCI.
Yeah. So we are, as I mentioned, we're always trying to be better as an organization, and we do employee surveys frequently. What are some of the areas that we can be better at? And I think there are some things that employees say, oh, well, it'd be fun if we did this. Well, great. Let's get a group together. So we named it the Culture Club, and this group comes together and they come up with really innovative ideas themselves to do. So we've been big supporters of the Pride Parade here in Washington, D.C. And last year there was no parade. So the team said, could we, they're doing a virtual parade. Well, we ended up having a virtual event on a Saturday. We had, business leaders, the head of AIHA, who at that point, they were knee deep in sort of dealing with COVID crisis and what do we do with that. We had the individual from Say Yes to the Dress, who's opening up a salon in Alexandria. So he was on, and this was all driven by the team. And we opened it up to our broader HRCI community, and we had some amazing attendance at the event. And I think it was a way to support our broader community, connect people together, and give them some really great information to help them navigate both their personal and their professional lives. So, and that was totally 100% driven by the HRCI team, the Culture Club, who came up with that. So, and they're always thinking, we had a virtual tour of a zoo, where we got to walk around and sort of, see the animals in the zoo that were, sort of kind of the wayward animals. Anyway, I mean, it's all driven by the team as to how can we connect with each other in these times of when we're not really together. And we're a big HRCI. Our team is always talking about food. So we love food, right?
You're foodies.
And who doesn't? We're still foodies. And so anything that we can do around food is always amazing too. So
no, I'm so with you on that. It's, it's about food all the time. And I joke with someone, I said, no, I love food and food loves me. So that's always going to be part of me. As we start thinking, I dealing with a lot of clients lately around verdicts and and trials and a lot of the things that are happening in and around the world. And sometimes it seems like the voice of the company should say something or do something. And when you do, sometimes it's good, but you can't please everyone. And one of the challenges of moving up in leadership, and is certainly being in such a visible and important role as yours, is the ability to handle scrutiny. And I'm just curious how you do it. How do you make those kinds of decisions, knowing you'll be darned if you do and darned if you don't? What's your process for that?
That's right. I think that, at HRCI, I have always been true to myself in what makes sense for us as an organization. What is it that I believe in and support, and how do we use that voice to support the broader community out there? And I think, we came out last year as talking about, when George Floyd's death happened, we were, this was a very moving time. It still is. I mean, this is, we've got a lot of work to do as organizations, as HR leaders, to help to empower and embrace and elevate. And I think, we're having conversations. I was watching a television show last night that was, it's not a true show. It's just sort of one of those made up shows. And they were talking about, how do we make sure that there's equity? And they were actually talking about pay equity, which I was, very interested. That's something I'm super passionate about. How do we make sure that we've got pay equity, irregardless of gender, of race, and how do we do that? How do we make sure that we're fair? And that's just one element. That's, not anywhere near. But I think companies are starting to take a stand. CEOs are starting to take a stand in this, because your clients, your team, and your organization is saying, you can't be silent on this. I mean, what's happening with voting in Georgia and in Texas, and sort of these conversations that are happening. And I just, I haven't made it to read the article yet because I haven't found the time. Maybe I'll get to it tomorrow.
Right.
But there's a Harvard Business Review article about this, about how CEOs are being asked to take a stand, when companies were at one point very agnostic. We're not going to get, we're not going to go there, but organizations are, and it is, you are not going to make everyone happy. You're not.
Right. No.
But I think HR professionals have such a unique role in ensuring that there is equity in hiring, there's equity in promotions, there's equity in pay, there's in everything. We have to make sure that it's fair. That fairness is so important. And that's the community that we support. And that we're in, and we need to give them the tools that they need to help them to have those really hard conversations, because you're having those conversations with the C-suite, you're having them with your colleagues who may not understand. The CFO, when you say, I need more money, we've got to pay equity. Well, we don't have that money. Well, we've got to do this, and this, we've got to make this commitment as an organization, and having these conversations with the CEO they're hard conversations to have, but HR has got to do it. That's the role that they play in ensuring that that in organizations there is that fairness.
I kind of want to stay on that sort of theme too of equity and diversity and all of that, the conversations we've been having. I know that, after the murder of George Floyd, you and I had a really good conversation, about the work that needs to be done. And I really appreciated your candor and your honesty about, Pam, I have to do the work myself. I can't expect everyone to do the work for me and to tell me what to do. And I'm just curious about the work you've done. What advice do you give to others who might be similarly situated about what it means to really do the work from a leadership perspective?
Right. I think it's digging in and looking at across the board all your practices, looking to make sure that there is that you're hiring people from a diverse background, that your pay practices are fair. I mean, this whole, there's so much conversation around this at the C-suite. Oh, we've got to make sure it's HR's job to make sure that this is fair. Actually, no, it's not. It's your job. You are the one that's leading that organization. It's your responsibility. HR can facilitate that and will be the voice of reason in that, but you're the one that's got to drive that
Yes.
to ensure that there's fairness. And you've got to have these conversations with your teams, with your clients, to make sure that that you're living what you're saying you're going to do. And it's hard. People think, okay, it's just a policy or practice and we're done and we're going to put it on the credenza, and it becomes credenza ware and it gathers dust. And no, this is an active process that you have to go through in all of your practices and all of your in everything that you do. You've got to have that. You've got to think about those practices. I mean, it's just, I think we're seeing such a huge shift. I feel like everybody thought, oh, we made so much progress, and then I feel like we really slid down the hill over the past many years, and so this is a reckoning point. Okay, we're starting from a new space here of knowing that we made some progress, but we've got to keep we have to keep building, and we've got to keep moving forward. And again, it is not a solution overnight.
No.
This is a long, it took hundreds of years to get where we are right now. It's going to take us some time to undo some of those things that have been done, and for people to really be true to themselves, and
Absolutely.
welcoming of themselves. So
and even forgiving, right? So that
exactly.
you can move forward. So I think that is what you said is so spot on and so important, and it makes me think about things that we have to do. I'm curious, what you're doing. Remember, you have a full plate. I only read it, for those who are watching, a small part of her background and her bio. She didn't know I had the whole thing. I swear it's like a little book, and so her assistant sent it over to me because I wanted the real thing. I want to read Dr. Dufrane's bio, and I'm like, whoo, Lord, there's a lot here. So, but there's a lot that you're doing now. You stay so involved in the organization and the HR community with your family. Your daughter is doing some super phenomenal things. I'd like to know what you're reading. I'd like to know that. And then I'd also like to know, how do you self-care? What are you doing to take care of yourself in this process, in whatever order you'd like to address those?
Yeah. Wow. So anybody who knows me knows when I was a little girl, my mom bought me a baby carriage to put your babies in. Well, I didn't have any baby dolls. I had books. And I loaded up the baby carriage with so many books that the wheels fell off and I killed the baby carriage. So I'm always reading, not just one or two books. So I have kind of my books that are more junk books or fun books, and then I have more serious books. So right now I'm reading A Time for Mercy by John Grisham. That's sort of my junk book, because I love John
we got to
Grisham.
do that. Yes, ma'am.
So I think that's kind of self-care, sort of, kind of, but it's also reading. So I think a couple of the books, Breathe by James Nestor, right now, I think it's connecting your mind and your breath and how they're so related to each other. So I feel like right now there's so much self-care. I don't know if it's the pandemic and people are we're all kind of going, how do I take better care of myself? So Sanjay Gupta, his Chasing Life book is really good, talking about how do we extend our lives. I think we've seen the longevity of our age in the United States has decreased. It's gone backwards instead of going forwards for the first time in a really long time, in decades. So I think that's why I'm kind of reading, how do I extend my life in a forward-looking way? And then, think again. I think Adam Grant's book anything he writes is really
Yeah.
amazing. So those are the 4 books that I have kind of going right now. And I'm at different stages in each, but that's sort of how I read.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've got I'm launching a Leaders Are Readers book club for leaders. We're actually starting on May the 7th in
Oh, nice.
yeah, in Clubhouse. And one of the things people are always asking me, well, how do you know this? What do you know about that? I don't have time to go back to school, although I've been thinking about, going back for my PhD. But in the meantime, I still have to stay on top of things, and I have to
Right.
read. And I figure let's extend the circle. Let's read. So that we can start adopting new ways of thinking, expanding our thinking, if nothing else. It's a
That's
terrible
right.
thing to get into an organization having only read, the last thing you read was when you got your degree or the newspaper, and that's not even really reading.
No.
So you got to keep moving so that you can develop better, become a better person, and develop better processes and products for the
Right.
organization. So I
That's right.
truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the last word, additional thoughts and questions or advice or insights that you would like to share with those that are watching and tuning in with us.
Yeah. I'd love to, just from a self-care perspective, one of the things that I've been doing over the past 2 years is something called a 12-week year. And it's been life-changing for me. And it's really breaking things down because, I mean, we all have, these big personal goals that you have that you set on January 1st, and this is what I'm going to do. And this is really chunking things down in smaller, more manageable bites.
Yeah.
And they're achievable. And so I would encourage people to think about, and there's a whole book called 12-Week Year, and you can read it, and there's stuff online, and they've got a software, but I think it really helps. It's helped me to move my personal self forward and move HRCI forward. So I think that that's just something that I leave folks with. But I love to encourage people to come to visit our website, hrci.org. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Amy Dufrane, or Twitter at Amy Dufrane, and connect with me. Pam talked about our Alchemizing HR series, which we hold every Thursday at 1:00 Eastern time. We get some amazing folks on there, and Clarissa is a fabulous facilitator. She just does a great job. We have a podcast called Inevitable: The Future of Work. I've interviewed people like Angela Duckworth and Dave Ulrich, who are amazing thinkers and kind of ahead of their time as I see them. When you read some of their publications, you go, wow, if only organizations had done this a while ago, maybe we would be in a little bit of a different place. So if you're interested in learning or expanding your HR knowledge, you can come to our website. We have that virtual learning platform that we're growing and adding courses to on a monthly basis. And if you're interested in getting certified, if you're in the HR profession or you want to break into it, we have awesome certifications for individuals to get foundational knowledge, which is for the APHR, or we have PHR and SPHR certification, GPHR. For those HR professionals practicing outside the US, we have certifications that we're now offering in both Spanish and in Arabic. And so, so we're really trying to build our global community of HR leaders so that we're all better, because frankly, we're all working together anyway. As companies sort of collaborate with each other, we can all make each other better. So I would love to connect with folks. If anybody wants to ping me, I'd be happy to have a conversation with them about anything I talked about.
Perfect. Dr. Dufrane, thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your crazy busy schedule. I really appreciate your friendship and your time and your attention and all that you're doing to serve the HR community at large. It's people talk about you all the time in really cool and exciting ways, and that's the way you want to be talked about. So again, we thank you, certainly honor you, and I look forward to hearing more coming out of HRCI. Remember, That's hrci.org. And you can certainly reach Dr. Dufrane through HRCI. And if you are interested in joining our book club, we will be meeting on May the 7th virtually in Clubhouse, working with people who have a little bit of challenge. So, I want you to, go visit the website, PamelaJGreen.com. You'll find it under resources to join us. And again, we will see you next month. Dr. Dufrane, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Pam, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.